Yeah, we are recording the session now, starting from now.
Okay. All right.
Okay, this is the reunion of 9BR1 from Herman Ritter Junior High School. We graduated almost 75 years ago, and we had a 50th anniversary reunion that Archie Greenberg organized. Many of us were there, and Archie took the initiative to start and organize this reunion. This one is with Zoom. In 1996, it was a physical reunion at a restaurant in New York City.
George, I'm trying to record it and it says I need your permission.
Sid, I'm recording it, and I'll provide access to the recording to you. You don't have to record it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm recording it, and then I'll provide access to everybody.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Chuck Rogel is doing very
Glad you
well.
brought that up because I meant to record from the beginning, but I forgot. But that's okay. But we're still missing the member. Are you finished with your list, Archie?
No. I was
Keep
going to
going.
say that Chuck Rogel is down in Roanoke, Virginia, doing very well. His daughter is a very successful restaurateur. So Chuck has many friends in her various restaurants. Herb Siegel, I have no awareness of. Anybody know? Saul Strickarts has passed away. Saul, I think, was one of the earliest ones of our alumni who died. Harold Merrin, unfortunately, died 2 years ago. He was suffering from kidney failure and was on dialysis. I had been in touch with Harold. He was a lawyer for the city of New York and lived in Westchester County. Terrific guy, always up.
Oh, do you have a... No,
Jerry Reiner
George.
is no longer alive. Jerry also passed away the same year that
But you're
Harold
on.
did.
Oh, you're
We got
on.
in touch with Jerry's wife.
Everybody?
He was living out in Colorado and was doing well, and then bingo, he passed away. That was Alan Reese. I have no awareness of. Anybody know?
You're looking forward to the what?
No. Okay. George Oring, we've had the pleasure
yeah.
of setting this up for us.
Yeah.
And I want to thank George
Why don't we see-
because he really took it upon himself
you on
to
a,
take care of it.
iPad, what?
Lenny Pulwitz is right with us. He's a successful doctor out on the island. Lenny, what kind of, you're a cardiologist?
Internal medicine and cardiology.
Wait, let me, wait, on your laptop.
Okay, and the next one I see
Doesn't it say?
is Don Rosenberg. Anybody know Don Rosenberg's whereabouts?
It doesn't work.
Okay.
All right.
Janet Saletti,
Do you have a?
I'm surmising, passed away
I-
because when we had the original reunion, I spoke with Janet Saletti, but she was too ill to come at that time. So I suspect that she has passed away. Marion Bascom, anybody know what happened to Marion? Because I would certainly like to know. You realize she was the only Black person in our class. And I had somewhere heard that she was a
It looks like your
principal
microphone is on.
in an
On
elementary
the
school.
left,
I'm not sure.
Does it say mute or on?
Hilda Simon passed away. George found that out. I don't know when he did, but he checked it out and she was no longer alive.
You think that it's
And
because?
Lenny, I don't know if you noticed in that picture that you have of the class of '66, Hilda Simon looks the same in that picture
You
as
see
she looked at the time of the reunion. You have to bring it down. Yeah, you just have her in, you lost her. There she is. You see her in the middle? That's Hilda Simon.
Yeah,
And she looked the same when she came to the
on
reunion.
top is the young Black lady.
Okay.
This was PS 6
Yeah. Right.
class.
I keep
Is that
trying.
Marion Bascom?
Okay. All right. Tune in. You get the recording. All right. Bye.
Okay. Clara Antonowski was at the last reunion, but I lost track of her, so I can't tell you. I think she lived in your neighborhood, Sid, up around your way. I don't know. Sandra Glickman, one of the most successful, at least monetarily, of our alumni. She was one of the first female stockbrokers and did very, very well. Unfortunately, died a number of years ago.
What's her
Saul
name?
Huh?
I missed her name.
Sandra Glickman, if you remember, a heavyset woman. Saul Friedman had been in touch with her, and
Hello,
he
Milt.
advised me that she had passed
Yeah,
away.
why can't you get on the
And
Zoom call?
Liz Roberts,
Why?
died
Are you
about
using
5 years ago. She married a classmate of
Okay,
mine
on the
from
lower
City
left,
College,
can you
and spent a
start
number of
video?
years
Isn't
in
there an
Israel,
icon that says
and
start
then returned
video?
to the US with her family. And I see that I left off this list
On the
was
lower left.
Eleanor Krautheimer, who no longer is alive. I had met Eleanor on a
Milt, on the lower
cruise to
left,
the
you'll-
Mediterranean when I saw her name on a ship's manifest. So I slipped her name under her door, and sure enough, that was her. And she was so excited to be able
Are
to
you on
come
the screen? Do
to the
you see us?
reunion, the last reunion, but unfortunately died about a
Okay.
week before
On
the
your
reunion
screen,
was held.
okay, on your
So that's why
screen,
we
on the lower
didn't have
left,
her with us today.
move your cursor
And that,
down.
my
to
friend,
about there.
are your classmates. And what
Nothing?
what we
On
know
the
about my
little
cousin here.
menu bar on the bottom of your screen, or on the top, maybe?
And
Yeah.
this, I don't know if you can read
Look
this.
at the menu bar.
George,
What does it say?
George, while you're on the telephone, you can turn off your speaker so we can hear Art.
Can you read what that says?
Commencement
Commencement
exercises.
exercises, January
1946.
1946.
That's right. This was the insert that was given to us at our graduation.
It should say participants and all sorts of stuff.
And to show you the type of education we were getting back in those days, the program started with the processional,
All right, look,
Then-
I'm gonna have to
then
hang up.
Felix Mendelssohn, but Bible reading by Marvin Weinberg and Bernard Petrusky. Marvin, I know. Bernard Petrusky, I do not know. And then we all sang, America, I Hear You Singing, Night and Day, Summertime, Begin to Begin, Italian Street Song from Naughty Marietta. And let's go with School Medals, Solomon Friedman and Hyman Rogel. Let's give a cheer for Big Sol Friedman, who was, if you recall, our mayor. You recall that?
No, I recall you being our president.
Who was the president?
You.
Right. I was president of the class. Saul was mayor of the entire school.
Saul was called the mayor.
Right. He was the mayor. He wasn't called it. He was.
Who else
And
was there?
the Ann Hutchinson chapter of the DAR. Think of it. Perimeter High School got a medal from the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Who was that?
The two holders of the Ann Hutchinson chapter DAR were Jerome Bresner, four, Jerome Bresner, Harold Siegel, and Stanley Meisler and Harvey Peskin. Oh, I'm sorry. The Ritter News Medal went to Stanley Meisler, Eleanor Krautheimer, and Harvey Peskin. Does anybody remember Eleanor Smallheiser? For some reason or other, that name rings a bell with me. And I know I was in love with her because I was in love with Rita Bloomberg. Did anybody else who was in love with Rita Bloomberg?
Rita Bloomberg,
Yeah.
Rita.
was she in our class?
I
Yeah.
don't think she was in the class.
Uh,
I was
yes,
in love.
I remember a bunch of those ladies, they were all from Parkchester.
Right.
And there was one girl I was in love with was Ethel Worley.
You got it. Ethel Worley, right? Those two, Ethel Worley. Well, Bob Maletti and Robert Gilroy were also from Parkchester.
Did you say you knew what happened to Rita?
To Rita Bloomberg? No, she must have married another guy. And
He passed away, I think, many years ago.
Rita
Who?
Bloomberg? Yeah.
What about Sylvia Widorowicz?
I just have her name in my autograph book.
Do you know where she lived, Archie? Do you know where she lived?
Who?
Rita Bloomberg.
She lived in Parkchester.
Okay.
Yeah, she and Ethel Worley both, I remember, came with Bob Maletti and Robert
Rouse.
Gilroy.
What about Teresa Seidenberg?
Have no idea. She wasn't in our class.
Yes. I remember Teresa. She was also from Parkchester.
I don't know. Do you remember our homeroom teacher?
Well, we had many, didn't we?
No, there was 9BR1.
Oh, in 9BR1.
Was it Oaken?
No,
Oh,
Veronica Burns.
Burns.
Burns. Right.
And the other
Okay.
ninth grade teachers were May Dean, Roxanne Friedman, Florence Gray, Rose Kaminer, Selma Levine, Molly Mandelowitz, Carmela Mazzolino, Blanche Rothstein, and Marie Sanderson. I don't know.
What happened to Dr. Gillis?
Dr. Gillis is listed as grade advisor.
Oh, because she taught
Yes.
mythology.
Right.
But-
We still
Actually,
talk
copy
about, we
my
still
first
talk about
copy.
piling Assa Pompilion. Do you remember that?
Oh,
If you put one cirrus on top of another, you were piling Assa, which was one mountain, on top of Pelion, which was another mountain.
Arthur, you mentioned Vogel's name.
Who?
Vogel, you mentioned Vogel.
Vogel?
Yeah.
No, did I? I don't think so. What was the first name?
Knew a Cy Vogel.
Cy Vogel was, you might have known her from Monroe, Lenny. Did you go to Monroe?
Okay. Do you know what happened to
George,
Vogel?
yeah.
there are two participants who are non-video participants. Who are they? And
No, look, I just actually called Saul Friedman and Milton Baldwin. And Saul is having difficulty, he thinks, because his computer system is somehow connected to his office, and he thinks that's why he's having some difficulties. I have no idea what the issues are.
Does he get
And
the audio?
Milt is on his computer, Milt Baldwin, and can't seem to find how to put on the video or the audio. But they are listening in, and they see and hear whatever we say. So
Oh,
be
good.
careful. They are black boxes on our screens, but
can they hear us?
they can hear and see us, I believe. Yes.
Do
Yes.
you remember Meyer Turkel?
Okay.
I couldn't hear you, Paul. What
Have
was
you,
that?
have you completed your list, Archie?
Yes, yes. How was
Okay, let me show you a few more slides.
I want to ask you about a couple of other, I think, classmates. Harold Lubell.
Hold on a minute. Let's finish this. Okay, this is the PS66 graduating class that Lenny
Okay.
Pulowitz sent to me.
And right on top of Lenny is Chuck Rogel. Okay, and
Right.
if you go as far to the right on that picture, I believe the chubby kid that's sort of like in the background is Erwin Kozan, and that's
This-
me on the right-hand side.
Hold it. Wait a second. Who is Kozan? This fellow?
I think that's Erwin Kozan. Right.
And this is
And
you.
that's me. Right. That's me.
Peskin is on the left.
Where's
Who?
Peskin?
Peskin,
Where is he?
go two to the left from that arrow.
Peskin was not there. Peskin didn't live on, go to 66.
Right. He
He
probably
lived on, just off Cortona Park, so he wasn't going to 66.
No, that's definitely Chuck Rogel. Chuck looks like that today.
Yeah, this is Chuck Rogel. And this is Teddy Bookwalter, right?
I think so.
Which one?
The one
The one
on
I'm pointing
the
to.
furthest on the right. On
Can
the
you see my
left
pointer?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you see the,
Yeah,
can you
that,
see the pointer?
Yes, I do.
that's
Okay,
Ted.
that's Teddy Bookwalter. And I don't know, that's Len.
And you can show them where Hilda Simon is, George.
Oh yeah, this is Hilda Simon.
His name is Grossberg.
What
The teacher
was Grossberg,
is Mrs. Grossberg.
who
Name
was
is Grossberg.
originally Kaplan. And then she married and became Mrs. Grossberg. And there's no question in my mind that she was a devout communist. No
Who,
doubt.
Hilda?
No, Mrs. Grossberg.
Who?
She used
What?
to take us, remember she took us to hear the Red Army chorus?
Oh, the teacher?
Yeah, the
The
teacher was
teacher?
definitely a communist. No doubt
Is
in
this
my
the-
mind.
Is this the teacher?
Yes.
Yeah, that's her.
Okay.
But
All
I
right,
don't know who-
anyone else? This guy looks familiar.
He looks familiar, but I don't know who it is.
And how about these kids? No?
The only one I know is Lenny because he told me. Lenny was a cute kid, wasn't he? Holy mackerel. Whoa.
These kids look like they're in the third grade.
Right. The young lady on the left, far left, and the first row looks very familiar, but I can't tell you who it is.
Okay, let's move on. And this is a cartoon by Sid Wisner.
That's me.
Time marches on. And I assume this was published in the Written News, Sid?
Yeah, that was in this.
Yeah, I would guess so. But I don't really remember it.
You don't
You don't
remember the
remember.
cartoon? Yeah.
I don't remember it.
That was in the Written News.
The Herman Ritter News.
Here's how, for those who wanted to see what Harvey Peskin looked like when he was a student, can you make that out?
Yeah, he wrote an article, a column called.
Right.
Right.
Well, pardon my glove.
I had
All right.
I had a column there also.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'll read it. Let me see where it is. Hold on. I noticed that this morning.
And hold on, this is James Monroe. It looks like a prison compared to Herman Ritter.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that was-
then we have the photo from the 50th anniversary reunion that
Can
was
you
held
move
in New
that
York
over? Because
City.
some people are missing, George. Can you move that over
No,
to the left?
No, wait,
Part
hold
of
on
it
a
is-
minute. Can you
part
see
of it is
Chuck?
blocked off.
1 minute. Can you see Chuck?
No, that's what I'm saying. I see Stanley as the last one.
Why
Stanley
can't you
missing.
see him? What's
Because he
blocking?
had the our photos.
I click on the minus sign and you'll delete those.
Where would the minus sign be?
Upper left.
No,
Or can you move them out of the way? Drag them over to the left.
I'm trying to, but it doesn't move it.
How about the other folks? Can you see the entire photo?
Yeah,
Found the minus.
Okay, don't worry. I have, you would send me that photo. So I know.
Yeah.
but
I see the photo.
Okay, so that's Marty Rosner, Paul Syrup, Sid Wisner, Jerry Reiner, Archie Greenberg, Milt Baldwin, Stanley Meisler, Harvey Peskin, who had a very distinguished career as well, Chuck Rogel,
if I
No,
can.
Saul Friedman. Saul Friedman, Chuck Rogel. And that's myself. That's Hilda Simon, Milt Baldwin, Harold
Harold.
Merritt, and what's his name?
Erwin Kozan.
Erwin Kozan and Clara Antonowski.
I have an interesting story about, can you hear me?
Listening.
Yeah, about Harvey Peskin.
What happened to the fellow?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now I can. What?
Yeah.
He had a distinguished
Invited?
career in psychiatry,
Psychology.
psychology out in California. And one of my granddaughters is now taking her PhD at Wright University where he taught. And she had the privilege of being invited to his home and meeting his wife. Very interesting experiences she had there, but unfortunately Harvey passed away. It was sad.
It was very interesting. My last contact with Harvey, I told George, my son was practicing medicine in San Francisco and Harvey was living in Berkeley. And whenever we'd go out to visit my son, we'd go out to dinner with Harvey and Sapora. And we were in communication. And then for some reason or other, Harvey stopped communicating with me. I don't know why, but I didn't hear from him until I got a phone call and it was Harvey. And he told me that he was dying. Now, maybe, I don't know what caused them to call, but it was shortly thereafter that I got a notice from his family that Harvey had passed away. But it was very strange that he must have chosen.
The way he got in contact with you was through me. And I, in turn, got your number from Milton.
Because I didn't know, as I say, it was out of the blue that I got the call.
Yeah, I got a few letters from his wife after he passed, but I've lost contact there too.
Harvey had cancer, right, Sid?
I don't recall what it was, but I don't recall. There's a lot of things I don't recall these days. Anybody else have those problems?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah, and I always forget on the way to the bathroom for the 42nd time. So,
You know,
I know where it is, but
George, the article that you sent that Stanley wrote, that was a marvelous article. I lived in that neighborhood as Sydney did, in some of those neighborhoods.
Is that Paul talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
my grandmother, my paternal grandmother lived in the apartment house right next to Stanley. So I would see Stanley often. And we would we had, you know, the Barons basketball team at that time.
I remember them.
In any case, we used to take a wire hanger, set it up on the door of his bedroom, and we would practice. We would shoot baskets and things like that. But I think in those days, Stan and I were very close. But he mentions things like Julie's Bakery on
Absolutely.
174th Street.
And Bucknuff's Delicatessen.
Right. But one of my close cousins married a Julie. And
Oh,
one of the sons, David Julie, he just passed away from heart disease. You know, and as you go up and down, it makes you, he talked about the Dover,
right.
where we
that's
used to
right.
go to the movies at 10 o'clock in the morning and come home at 4 in the afternoon, having seen 2 big pictures, 3 cartoons, 1 chapter, and we left with a game. You know, they gave you gifts all for 10 cents.
That's
Stanley lived on Longfellow Avenue, didn't he?
Stanley lived on the corner of Longfellow and 174th Street.
Right.
That's right. That's right. And where did you live, Paul?
I lived at 172nd Street. Milty and I lived in apartment houses right next to each other. Milty and I were friends even from elementary school. And we remained
Let's see.
friends.
Let's see, 172nd Street and what avenue?
On Boston Road.
Oh, Boston Road, okay.
Right across, there was the Powerhouse, where Jimmy Carter supposedly made a big speech.
Right,
I went back to that. I went back there with some of the
right. Actually, I lived, Len Polowitz, right, was also on Longfellow Avenue at 172nd Street, right, Len?
Yes, I have a story to tell. When I had my education outside of New York, and then I came back and started practice. And I wanted to show my wife and my 2 young children the neighborhood that I was brought up. And so I was driving at that time the biggest Buick convertible that there was, and the top was down. So I came to the neighborhood and I saw our house was all boarded up, no windows. The windows were boarded, and it was a red brick 5-story building, walk up, and we lived on the 4th floor. So then I showed them the area and I started to go back to Long Island, and I got lost, and I kept going further south and into what was called Fort Apache and Intervale Avenue and so forth. And the next thing I knew, there was a car on either side of me. They were both police cars, and they wanted to know what I was doing there. I told them I was lost, and they told me how to get to the bridge.
It was 1974.
It's interesting because I had a similar experience when my kids were small. We were at the Bronx Zoo, and I said, okay, I'm going to take you back to my old neighborhood. And we were on Bryant Avenue, and I got out of that neighborhood so fast. Once I got into it, I wanted to make sure that we all got out. And then I went back a number of years later, because when my son started practicing, when he was in my office in New York, there was an accident that took place on 172nd and Vise. And that neighborhood at that time, this was a number of years ago, probably easily 15, maybe perhaps 20. That neighborhood had changed completely. It was clean, well kept, and it was all because of that visit that Carter made when he set up that model setup of new buildings on Minford Place, which was right around the corner from Herman Ritter.
I can echo what you say, Art, because I went back later on with my wife and with Bernie Edelstein and his wife. And when we drove down our neighborhood and also up to Herman Ritter, the place looked very nice. I would have liked living there. They had very clean, small condominiums, a
Right.
little garden in front. Some of them had cars in their driveway. And the whole neighborhood, in fact, I sent to George some pictures of what it looked like, where you could see down 170, down Longfellow Avenue from 172nd to 173rd on to 74th. And it looked very nice.
Is Bernie Edelstein still alive?
No,
No.
no.
George tried to find him, right, George?
I think Len Polowitz informed me that, right, Len, that Bernie had passed away? Did you?
Bernie Adelstein
Yeah.
passed away last year. And I
Oh.
gave you the telephone number in case Barbara
Right.
was still living
Right.
in Long Island.
Right. Actually, Len lived at Longfellow Avenue and 172nd Street. I lived on Longfellow Avenue, close to 173rd Street. And Stanley Meisler lived on Longfellow Avenue and 174th Street.
Now,
So we were all on Longfellow, about a block apart.
So how come you came to
your
66,
apartment and
Lenny?
my apartment, there were small private homes. And if I looked out my window, I could see your window, and I remember waving to you a couple times.
PS 61 was right across the street from our house, across Boston Road.
Right.
Adelstein, he lived just past the candy store in a building also across the street from us. So an interesting time. PS 60,
How come you ended up at PS 66?
I didn't end up at PS 60.
I said Lenny.
I did. I was only a block away. PS 66.
So were you that was the
on
demarcation
Longfellow
where
Innings.
PS 66 ended?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
It was your street because George was very close, was the next street over, and he went to PS 50, right, George?
Yeah, I went to 50. Yeah.
I guess yours was the.
You were,
borderline.
yeah, you must have been close to the dividing line, Len.
I was right on the corner, across the road, and 1 block, you were there.
Yeah.
I remember many of my friends I met locally in the neighborhood through the Hebrew school we attended on Bryant Avenue between 172nd and 173rd Street. It was called the Talmud Torah Eden. It was a small 2-story house, and there was a Mr. Spector. He was the Hebrew teacher, and Mrs. Spector, his wife, also taught. But I made a lot of local friends there, and we formed this team or club called the Royals. And, you know, we played baseball or football against other teams. But what was remarkable, you know, others maybe had uniforms. We had nothing. But we did once order baseball caps, you know, baseball caps with the letter R on them for Royals. And when we got those baseball caps, you should have seen those kids. We were so happy to wear those caps. Stanley Meisler was not a member of that group, but
He was a Baron. He was on our team.
he was on your team. I recall occasionally he came to play baseball with us, and we put him on first base because he was so tall. But he was a little clumsy, but he was okay.
Who else was
I
on?
was a member of the Zeniths. I don't know if you remember the Zeniths.
Yeah, Peter Paul.
Peter Paul and Elliot Carver and Alex Papaduke. But the interesting thing is that Elliot Carver, who was our classmate at Herman Ritter, not now, he was just in the 9th grade with us, was and still is one of the illustrious stars of George Washington University's basketball team. And not only was George on the team, but his son also was on the team.
What was his last name?
Carver, Elliot Carver.
I thought he passed away.
I don't know. I'm sure he passed away. Yeah, Elliot's not alive any longer, but he was a basketball star in college.
Did any of you know Ben Wackman?
Yes, I see he's in my autograph book, but I don't remember him.
Ben was on 173rd Street and Bryant. And in the morning, I would always be borderline late to get to James Monroe. And Ben would run down the block where he was, and the two of us would run to school together. And he was on the basketball team at Monroe.
Did anybody from Ritter not become a lawyer or a doctor beside me?
It's very interesting, but if you look at that list, there are a lot of doctors and a lot of lawyers, and you're the only engineer, I think, besides Bob Maletti, who was a well-known engineer. He designed roads. That was his specialty.
Yeah. Well, I was not a doctor or a lawyer.
No,
You.
he was one of the most foremost meteorologists in the United States. He takes up about 2 Google pages.
Is that right? Is it going to rain tonight?
If not in the world. Is
I-
it going
I
to
was,
rain where?
I was told, George, that you and your family lived in Israel for 10 years.
That's right. We were in Israel for during the decade of the 1970s. Right. I was teaching at Tel Aviv University. Yeah.
In Hebrew.
Well, after a few years in Hebrew, first few years I taught in English, but after a few years I taught in Hebrew. But the interesting thing is, you know, I would make notes, you know, for lectures so I can refer to them occasionally. And I found it much easier, rather than making the notes in Hebrew, I made the notes in English because I was very slow at reading Hebrew. I couldn't read Hebrew writing very quickly at all. So I take the notes, put down notes in English, and if I had to refer to them, I would quickly translate them into Hebrew, and the lecture would be in Hebrew. So that was interesting.
Not unusual for the second language to be dealt with that way.
Yeah, right.
Did anybody know Harold at that time, Lubelsky, or name changed to Lubel?
Became a very successful lawyer.
Right. In fact, his office was in the same large office as Mayor Koch, and his field was real estate, I believe. Well, Harold and I ran into each other off and on, and we were on the same sports team in junior high school and high school, other than playing stickball in the street. And
How many sewers could you hit?
and so I contacted the Bar Association, and they tracked him down, and then I called him, and it was a nice return of friendship. He died a couple of years ago. He was a smoker, and he had chronic lung disease.
Oh boy.
That was the cause.
Yeah. I went to school in Brussels, in Belgium, and studied in French. So you made me think of it when you said about Hebrew. It was a while before I was able to speak and read the French language. But once I met my wife, after about a year and a half, I learned very quickly. And I went to school there. I had a wonderful time. I developed friends. I came back and I did my internships at St. Mary's in Waterbury, Connecticut, and actually established the second CCU in the state of Connecticut in 1968 at St. Mary's. That was even before they had one at Yale. And after that, I rose in the ranks at St. Mary's. I was in private practice until the year 2000.
What field, Paul?
Internal medicine and cardiology. Great deal of cardiology. In those days, if you remember, cardiology was a one-year fellowship. And I was accepted at Johns Hopkins for my year. But my wife said, it's time that you went out. I had 2 kids by then. It's time that you went out and made a living. So I didn't do that, but I remain very interested in that specialty. Then I moved up to Farmington because my 2 daughters were in medical school there and now are in practice there, although they're coming to the end of their careers. My youngest daughter is associate dean at UConn Med, and the other one works part-time now in the clinic because she spends a good deal of time taking care of me and my wife. Both of us have some disabilities.
But it sounds as though you've had a very successful life
Yeah,
with your children.
I can't complain until I got sick. And, you know,
If
it's,
you look at the roster of our class, you realize that just about every single one of us did rather well. And I attribute it to public education. That's what it was.
that's what I certainly agree. I think the education that we got in elementary school and in high school was far superior to what is happening now.
Oh, wow.
I
no
think
question.
the teachers had a great interest. I remember their day ended at 3, but they always stayed later for us and they were never paid for that. I
And
think
the city colleges at that time were top schools.
Did anybody go to CCNY?
I did.
Oh, yeah,
I went to CCNY uptown.
me too.
Well,
In the Bronx.
yeah, downtown was a business school.
Yeah, Saul and Chuck went to the downtown school.
You know, at that time, when we went to those public colleges of the city university, the City College of New York provided more of the city college graduates went on to get PhDs than from any other college in the United States. At that time that we were at City College, more of their graduates went on to receive PhDs than from any other school in the country.
And you know,
It's an amazing
they had
place.
a number
I
of,
think they also had numerous Nobel Prize winners.
right, I was about to say that.
What's it like now?
It's a little different.
Well,
The entry requirements,
Now it's down.
the entry requirements are not as high as they were. And I realized I was such a putz. I only took the exam for City College. If I didn't pass that exam, I'd be pushing a dress cart in the garment center today. But that's what saved it. Seriously.
Yeah, I also took the exam to Brooklyn College. I made that long trip to Brooklyn to take that exam.
City campus.
Yeah.
By the way, since Milty can't speak, you went to medical school in Brussels and you found your wife in Belgium, Paul?
he found his wife in Holland.
Right,
That's right.
right. When Milty was in the service.
And actually, Milty visited me in Brussels when he was.
I thought Milty was a lawyer.
No, Milty is a lawyer.
He is a lawyer. Not only is he a lawyer, but
Yeah.
he was in front of the Supreme Court for one of his cases.
Milty has also published books,
Yeah,
law books.
When we went to James Monroe High School, we were allowed 3 college applications. I had a extracurricular activity in the office that was dealing with the records, the record room, and it ended up by my applying to a number of colleges. I wanted to get out of New York, and one of the schools I applied to was Case Western Reserve. No one gave us advice at that time.
That's right.
We had no money. We had difficulty paying rent. I went to the interview and the man asked me, how was I going to pay for my college education? And I paused. I never thought that. So he said, would you like a scholarship? And they gave me a full tuition scholarship
Wonderful.
without my thinking it through. And the dean at Monroe said in one of our assemblies that he was very happy with our class because we had gotten into a number of colleges. He said, however, the record's a little bit skewed because there's one student who applied to 39 schools, and that was me.
Oh, sure.
39. I remember the applications were very costly.
No, there were just a couple that I paid anything. In
Oh.
fact, one of the schools I applied to was Baylor,
No,
or
Bradley.
Bradley. And they had a basketball team that was well known. So the response from Bradley was to write to me and tell me to have my basketball coach contact them. All 5'7", I could barely throw the basketball.
Well, I was fortunate when I went to Europe and to med school. My tuition was $150 a year. And my,
Who's talking?
Paul,
That's Paul.
and don't you recognize my voice from all those years?
Yeah, but Commissioner, I couldn't see you talking because of the
Oh, yeah, okay, now you can. But it was $150 a year. It was $180 for the boat to get to Europe. And when I got there, and years later, I realized that had I gone to school in America, to med school, my parents could not afford to pay that tuition. So I was lucky.
Well,
Last 2
we
years,
never knew that we were poor, though. That's the interesting thing.
well, yeah,
In other words, we might not have had any money. And Saul is not able to tell you, but he can tell you that at one time when he was growing up, he used to have to put newspaper into the soles of his shoes because the leather had worn away. And that's the way he went to school, with paper in his shoes. We need
Well,
never had
everybody
any
did
money.
that.
I don't remember that.
Could have run for president.
I
Yeah,
remember
right.
Saul.
In those days, the wealthy people came from Parkchester because you had to earn at least, your parents had to earn at least $5,000.
Is that right? Well, I remember when I graduated from college, rather not even college, but from law school, the one thing that all my friends wanted, we would throw a party when each one made $10,000 a year. Times have changed.
At Milty's 80th birthday, and he and I are 2 weeks apart. Saul Friedman was there. And I had a picture from the newspaper, the Herman Ritter newspaper, of Saul when he was mayor. He was the best looking guy in our class, most handsome.
I thought I was.
I'm sorry?
I thought I was.
You want to hear what I have? You lived on 173rd Street, didn't you, Sid?
Yeah,
Because I remember in the summertime, Sid was a baron. And we used to stand underneath at the entrance of your building and we would communicate with each other and we would talk and this and that, but we found out we were disturbing some of the people up who lived in the apartment house that you lived in.
And Sid lived like on the 5th floor because I used to whistle up to him. And
that's
then
right.
And there was that lot across the street that had that big rock
Oh, yeah.
coming
Yeah.
out.
You me and Chuck used to sit on there and
Right.
BS, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Remember
Those were the
that, man?
days when we could go out at night, we could sit on the rock, we could do anything we wanted within reason, and we were never afraid. We were never afraid.
No, that was a good neighborhood. On the other hand, I think if you went down to Longfellow Avenue and a little further west, it got kind of dangerous, right?
I don't remember that.
No, Longfellow Avenue was upper class because on Longfellow, on Longfellow Avenue, many of the apartment buildings had elevators.
That's right.
That's right. There was one elevator apartment on my block. That was it.
I think Stan.
Yeah. I have a story about Longfellow Avenue. We were playing stickball on the street, and Harold Lubelski, Lou Bell, had fractured his leg at the time we were playing football, and he had a cast on. And there was a boy who walked down the street and felt that Harold did not give him enough room to pass. Harold was not going to move for anybody. He was a tough young man. And he started a fight with him. And the fellow said, "You remain here, and then I'll come back with my boys." Well, we all dispersed. I went to Jennings Street to shop, carrying
I
two.
thought you went to Jennings Street to eat pickles.
Right.
And
Okay, Pechter's rye bread.
so what happened is he was from further south in the Bronx, and they came with gangs. And they went to 173rd Street, where there's another group of fellows growing up. And they came with lead pipes, and one of the fellows, one of my friends, got hit in the head and a fractured skull. So, and then the police were called and so forth. So when I was coming back with my packages, fellow and who I knew from PS 66 and his group of kids were running away. And I wanted to know what was going on. And they wanted to know from him whether they should beat me up because I was part of the original group. So it's a good thing I knew him. He told me about what happened.
You know that neighborhood, South Bronx, 172nd and Boston Road, known as the East Bronx, is now represented by, what is it, OAC, AOC?
Okay, yes, oh, okay.
Is that right?
Yep.
I thought she was Queens.
No. Well, she may live there, but this is something I read in the last few days, so I'm not sure then.
Maybe she's in a couple of boroughs.
What street is that?
South Bronx and then the East Bronx.
Right. All right, let's take a trip down. What street do you want?
Try Bryant Avenue,
Longfellow,
Freeman and Jennings.
Jennings Street. Jake
Jennings,
the Pickle Man.
Jennings, that's right, Jennings Street.
That's where
That
the,
was where all the
that's where the
chocolate.
market was.
I'm sorry?
That's where the market was.
Yes,
Jennings and Southern Boulevard. That's where Jake the Pickle Man was.
yeah. Did you actually shop at Jake the Pickle Man?
Absolute.
Because
South
his
Street
wife,
was still longs for the pickles that Jake made.
his wife had her diamonds on her fingers, and she used to put her hands in the barrel to pick out, the pickles. They were always shiny.
Right, it looks like it became a boulevard.
Yeah, look at that.
Where'd you get these pictures, George?
Google.
Google.
No,
That's Jennings and where, George? What's the cross street?
I don't know. We'll have to look at the street sign.
You know, that looks like a pretty good neighborhood now, doesn't
yeah,
it?
that never looked,
Streets are clean.
that doesn't look like Jennings.
No, it doesn't. I don't see any, there's no street sign.
Picklebacks.
This is 875 Jennings Street. Looks like completely changed. It's a
Absolutely.
residential.
Listen,
Oh, hold it 1 second. Hi.
Sid, are you still doing the woodworking?
Oh, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm not in good health these days.
What were you
Not
doing?
like you guys.
I'm not.
Sid?
I think I've got long to go.
What work did
I
you
got, you
work?
name the disease, I've got it. Not the disease, the disability. I find it very difficult to walk. I use a cane, sometimes a walker.
Psychologically, it's terrible when you want, like, because I use a cane also. And although I have a serious illness, that's not debilitating me. It's my walking, my spinal stenosis.
Yeah.
They took away my car.
I
Do you still drive, Sid?
No, I can't drive anymore.
No, the kids don't let me drive.
Right?
Maybe that's a good thing, you know?
It is. I'm sure that.
Fortunately, I'm still driving.
Yeah, I'm still driving. Not very far.
I went, anybody know Helen Hayes Hospital?
Yes.
Okay, I went there.
Rockland County, right?
Yeah. I went there and I took some driving tests, and the guy kept calling me back like 3 or 4 times, and every time because he was trying to get me an okay. But again, that ended up saying, I'm sorry, you know, you ought to stop driving. I still had a license, and they did not necessarily report it, but at that point I stopped driving. So when I have to go someplace, my wife is driving me.
Yeah, my wife is not allowed either. You know, she's,
Actually, this is a nice view. This is James Monroe High School field. This is the 174th Street Bridge.
1700 Longfellow is where Stanley lived.
Right.
Well,
You know,
no, he
my
lived,
grandmother lived
he
17
lived one house over. He
James,
lived in the corner house.
James and
1700 is next to the corner house. I lived there after I got married for a while.
And what was the number of Stanley's house? 1712?
1710 or 1712.
Yeah.
It
My
was
grandmother
one
was 1700.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She lived in the apartment, which was right next to the letterboxes. You remember that?
wasn't Starlight Park somewheres near there?
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
near the
sort of in this
That was
area.
in West Farms Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the Chester Theater?
Let's see, here's the train. This 174th Street, it goes, this 174th Street Station,
Right.
Boston Road, 173rd Street, Herman
Remember
Ritter.
when I lived there, the Freeman Street Station, the station was heated with a coal stove.
Right.
Where's 172nd and Boston Road?
Let's see, Herman Ritter's 173rd. So the next street over, Boston Road. Okay, this is Boston Road. This is Boston Road. And is this a street? This looks like, might be 172nd Street right here.
Is that the school up in the upper right-hand corner? No, it's not there anymore.
This is 172nd Street and Boston Road. Platona Park. We can go down to ground level.
Is this where PS 61 must have been? Schoolyard? I don't know.
Might be. This is about Boston Road and 172nd Street.
Yeah, there was a PS 61 then is gone there. Or is it? What is that?
Is that PS 61?
Must be.
It looks like a pretty nice
And the
setup.
schoolyard is there because the same fence is there.
It looks like it might be PS 66 as well.
No, I don't think
This is
so.
where we are here.
PS 66 was on Jennings Street
Right,
and Longfellow.
correct.
Isn't that something? So that's
Oh, wait
PS.
a second. This is Boston Road and Charlotte Street.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's where Donnie Rosenberg lived.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where
When do
Carter
you
came.
guys still live in New York?
What's
I'm
that?
sorry?
What's that?
Do any of you still live in the city?
I have an apartment in the city.
Who's that, Paul?
No,
No,
Artie.
Okay.
I-
On 23rd Street, I
Right,
remember.
23rd, between second and third, in the Gramercy section.
I
What
once
street
once
is this?
was at
What's
your
this street?
apartment
Boston Road.
50 years ago.
Right.
this is Boston Road?
Heading toward,
There's no more trolley tracks here.
yeah, that's Herman Ritter. This is Boston Road, I don't know, 172nd Street maybe. Let's see if we can move this. How can we move it?
I trust that everybody knows that Jameson Row ceased being a general high school some years ago.
I don't know if you followed in the Post, the New York Post, there was just a very talented basketball player that was shot dead. He just graduated from Monroe last week, and somebody shot him dead. He was going to be a great college basketball player. As a matter of fact, he was slated to go to St. John's.
I thought Monroe closed up a long
It
time
goes
ago.
up. It's like they have about 3 different high schools there now, with different names.
And they are specialty schools.
Right.
We're going down Boston Road. I think the school is on the left here.
There's the school.
And we're going to 174th Street.
Yeah, but we're close to where Sid used to live on 173rd. And that looks different.
And go ahead.
173rd. Yeah, if I can turn this around.
I
All right, we'll go down here. We have to go here. Can't do it. Well, let's go down a little bit.
There used to be an A&P across the street from the school on Boston Road, right?
Yeah, and Flank's grocery store was across the street from that.
Right.
That one, Glenn?
Okay, this is 173rd. And let's get back into pedestrian view. Okay, so we're heading from school down 173rd, and you can see the L.
Yeah, in the back. That's Southern Boulevard.
That's Southern Boulevard.
That's the street I lived on.
Southern Boulevard?
Yeah, no,
No, he lived on Hoe Avenue.
173rd Street.
Didn't
All right,
you
so
live
we-
on Hoe Avenue, Sid?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have to cross Southern Boulevard to get to your house.
Isn't this Third Avenue?
No, that was Southern Boulevard and 173rd Street. And now we're going up to Hoe Avenue.
you can, Google allows you to pick out the addresses.
Yeah. All right, this should be Hoe Avenue. Let's see if we can find the street sign. There's a
I
street
lived
sign.
at 932.
I think this is Hoe Avenue.
They must have torn down your building, Sid.
Yeah.
Could be.
They tore down,
It says it's 939 East 173rd Street. What was your number?
932.
932?
Yeah,
So that would be closer to Southern Boulevard?
yeah, it was just off Southern Boulevard. Block
Uh,
off.
All right, we'd have to go back. You were on the right?
I was on the south side of 170.
All right, here's your building.
That's 26.
Oh, that's 26. So we have to go further north, further east. Was it a corner building?
It was on the corner of 173rd and
Oh,
Howe Avenue. Oh,
Yeah, this is 926 here. This might be this building, I don't know.
see if you can find 843
Does it look familiar?
172.
Did it look like this?
no way. No.
No.
They probably tore it then.
Not that.
I think they tore it down for that building, for the one that's on the left-hand side.
I'm sure
All
99
right, let's go
down and
down to Vise Avenue. Before
See if
we
you
go
can go
to
to
Sky.
Bryant is the next street. See if you can go to front Bryant and Jennings. Between,
Well, let's go down. This is, what is this? I can't read that.
when my son bought his law office building in Hudson, New York, he set up a corporation, and the name of the corporation is Bryant, Freeman, and Jennings.
Oh, my God. All right, I believe we're coming to Vise Avenue.
You can tell it's not a Jewish holiday. Because the cars are parked on both sides of the street.
It is Vise Avenue.
This is Vise.
Vise Avenue, and we're on 173rd Street. So,
and then Ho.
It says Ruth Poindexter Plaza.
yeah, whoever she was. And now we come to Bryant.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is
Is that
Bryant
Bryant?
Avenue. There used to be a candy store here. No, a pharmacy on the corner of Bryant Avenue
And
and 173rd Street. There was a pharmacy, and right next to it, there was a candy store.
There was a butcher shop near there too.
go south from there, George.
All right, south. South. You want to go?
I want to go south from 173rd Street in Bryant.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I can.
Because the house that I lived in became a Pentecostal church.
What street were you at, Archie?
I was between Jennings and Freeman.
Oh, so you're way down. Let's see.
It was only about 4 blocks from there.
All right.
It's a railroad station at Freeman, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a IRT stop on Freeman Street and Southern Boulevard.
Right.
And that was the one that I said had a coal stove at the station to keep the attendant warm. And it had big wooden turnstiles.
Remember when you used to go on the train down near Freeman Street? You'd come very, very close to that building there.
That was Simpson Street. It was between Simpson and Freeman where
Yeah.
the train would go around and you'd hear that screech for miles. That's right where the 41st precinct was.
Here's the street. Let's see what's the,
That looks like a numbered street, George.
It says 1515 Bryant Avenue.
I was 1442
yeah,
Bryant
that
Avenue.
was 172nd Street. I think we can do this faster if we move down this way. Okay, that was 170. What comes after 172nd?
That might be Jennings Street after 172nd.
Then there's Wilkins Avenue.
No, Wilkins Avenue was up closer
Wait a
to
second.
Boston Road.
Archie, you were there, Jennings?
Between Jennings and Freeman.
All right, so let's
I'm Bryant.
go down to Bryan. We're close to Jennings.
It certainly doesn't look the same.
No. I remember low-rise houses on my block for the most part.
You lived in a private house, Archie.
Yes, it was a 3-family house. I even had a backyard. How about that? It was at the sufferance of my grandfather who owned the building.
We had a backyard in our apartment building too. They used to come and sing there for pennies.
Okay, this is Freeman Street here.
Okay.
Were you after Freeman?
We were between Freeman and Jennings.
All right, so you're on this, we passed your house.
But if you notice, it's still low-rise there. That's when I noticed when I went back the second time.
Yeah,
That it was still low-rise.
What's
Yeah.
that on the left? There's a school.
That looks like, I wonder if that, no, 66 was on Longfellow Avenue.
Right. And Jennings.
maybe, oh, was there a synagogue here?
There was, that's it. That synagogue must be a church now. That's the synagogue that was at the end of my block.
Oh, we used to,
Bryant
I-
Avenue?
my father and I used to go here on the high holidays.
That's where it was. That's the synagogue.
It's
That's
a,
still
Bryant
there.
Avenue?
it's a big synagogue, right?
Right.
What street?
That was
That's
near-
on Bryant Avenue. And
Yeah,
then I
Fre-
remember come on, now you look like you're getting nearer to, keep coming up. Go north.
Hold on a second.
There was a synagogue on Vise Avenue somewhere near there.
Yeah, that was Rabbi Flax's synagogue.
Right.
I ended up there because my grandfather had a fight with the people on the one on Bryant Avenue. So he just moved the synagogue and put Rabbi Flax in on Vise Avenue.
These buildings on the left. Says it's about 1431 Bryan. What was your address?
1442.
42, so we have to go back more, right? In 34, 1438, 1440, 1443.
Huh,
On the other side of the street.
on the other side of the street then. There certainly
So-
does not look the same.
No.
And I don't remember any trees on the block. That's interesting.
Yeah. And looks like these are fairly new buildings.
Remember, it's 80 years since then.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you get me to the corner of 172nd and Boston Road? I want to see what the street looks like now.
All right.
.843 East 172.
Oh, okay. Let me put it in the search bar.
George, I just saw
All
Noah
right.
come.
What's the address?
843,
843.
yeah, East 172 Street. It's right
Eight-
across the street from where the powerhouse was.
843 East 172nd Street.
Right, correct. It's right there. Looks like.
Looks like a very nice neighborhood.
Yeah, they put a lot more trees in that area.
Oh, yeah, but we never had a tree.
No, we didn't have a tree either.
This is 856.
There's a covered area up on the right screen here.
I don't know what street this is. We're about 836. 843 would be behind us.
What school is that? That's PS 61, I think. It's got to be, yeah, that's PS 61. And right here on the corner was
So
where
this is Boston Road,
Boston and 172nd.
and did 172nd end at Boston Road?
Right here, yes, it did.
Oh, so that hasn't changed.
Could you come back?
So you're back here. This is 856, so we have to go forward again.
What's this smudge up on the screen here?
I have no idea.
See, Milty lived at 847, and I lived at 843.
All right.
But I don't see any apartment buildings there anymore.
Oh, what's this? I don't know where we are. Edward Stevenson Boulevard. What happened? Okay.
Sid, the name of your column was The Judge's Gavel.
Right, yeah. Right.
And
So
the
you,
Judge's Gavel plays havoc as scribe answers science query.
so you guys were very close to Herman Ritter.
Yeah, and in back of that, well,
This is 843 East 172nd Street,
where? Oh, yeah.
where I'm pointing, this building here. So all you guys had to do was walk down this half block and one more block. Wow.
Right. And in the back of that was Kill with Israel. There was a black church. I don't know what this is. Maybe that's the black church.
Well, no, there was a synagogue, Archie's.
Right
Yeah.
here.
That's a synagogue right here. We see the back of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
So
can
it's
turn
still
it.
there.
Sid, while they're looking, you ready? What
What's
you
the-
had was pithy comments, I think. One of them was, I first fell in love while I was in the kindergarten. When I saw her, it was love at first sight. We liked each other so much that we had decided to elope at the first possible chance. And then her parents found out. They pointed out to us that we were only 5 years old. So we decided to wait a month.
Did I write that?
You wrote that.
But do you remember the girl?
No, I don't know.
You
Maybe
know what I did in first grade? I was tiny. I had a teacher, Miss Shapiro, who was smaller than me. And I played hooky almost the first day that I was in first grade. I ran across the Cortona Park and was fooling around there. And she stuck her head out of the window and called me up. And I stuck my tongue out at her. In any case, I finally went up and she wrote a note to my mother, and my mother had to sign it. Well, what happened was that I started forging my mother's name, and she came up behind me. She ended up taking me home to my mother. It was only across the street. I don't think I got punished too much.
I don't remember you being that kind of guy, Paul.
That was first grade.
I thought you were a straight up legal guy kind of guy.
Yeah, well, that was the end of my criminal career.
Played hooky and stuff.
No, I was, that ended. I became a student after that.
Sid?
Yeah,
No, Sid.
yeah.
I remember you, Sid, as being very comfortable and successful with the girls when we were in junior high school.
Oh, I do too.
Well, I'm glad you still remember that.
Well, I was always flirting.
How come?
How come?
How come in our class we had like 20 boys and only 9 girls? How come?
That's very true. I don't know about the other R1. No, there was 9BR1, 9BR2, I think.
Yeah.
I think R2 might have had more girls. I'm not sure.
What was the
Maybe
difference
had,
between 9B and 9A?
It was 9. No, it was 9A was the first. I think 9A may have been the first part of the semester and 9B the second.
that's right. 9A was the first half of the semester,
Right.
So
the first semester, and 9B the second semester of the year.
Who else went to PS 50?
I did.
You remember me from there?
I think so. I remember you. You were an artist,
Yeah.
and there was also another artist. Do you remember his name?
His name. It was David something,
David,
wasn't it?
David Balch.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember that
I
name.
remember him.
David
Ever know
Balch.
what happened to him?
I don't know what happened to him.
I'm going to
But-
bring up another name. I don't know if you guys know because I didn't recall it, but Saul told me about it. A Harlow Fraden. Does that name?
He committed suicide.
Yeah, but didn't he do something to his parents? Did he kill his parents?
Yeah,
What class was he in?
Parkchester. He was I remember him in 7th grade. I remember, so it had to be Ritter.
But I remember Saul saying something about Harlow Fraden.
I
Was
remember
like
that.
this-
Harlan Fraden.
Harlan Fraden. Okay.
Harlan, I remember.
Did any of you guys marry schoolgirl sweethearts? No.
I thought that Dick Fields married one.
Who?
Sylvia Wigdorowicz, didn't he? Wasn't he going?
I know it. Sylvia is now changed her name to Sylvia Wigdor, and then she married a friend of mine. What was her name? Norman Weinger, Weinger. And they moved down to Florida, I believe.
Yeah, because I know that Richard Fields was always after her, but that was at Monroe.
He was what?
He was always going out with her. Sylvia. Yeah,
At
that was
Monroe,
at James Monroe.
did Cy Vogel and Monroe marry one of the classmates?
I don't think he heard you, Lenny.
Cy Vogel at James Monroe, I think he married one of his classmates
Hi, Vogel.
back then.
Cy Vogel was a tall, blonde guy, I remember.
If this is the same Cy Vogel that my limited memory recalls, later on, after I was in practice in Long Island, he showed up as a so-called real estate builder. And he was interested in taking on the job of putting up a medical building for us. And we were all talk, but we didn't go ahead. But my recollection was that he was quite dishonest and might have been in jail at one point.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Okay, guys, we've been on for almost 2 hours.
Well, it's been wonderful seeing you.
I don't know how long the recording can be. There may be a limit. It is still recording.
It says it's recording.
It is recording, yeah.
I'm gonna have to leave because I have to take my insulin.
All right. Okay, I think we can end this
Lord,
reunion.
thank you very much. And perhaps we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, we
Look
can.
forward to it.
Now have your emails.
Right, and I will send you links to the recording so you can download it and I don't know, do whatever you want with it. Okay,
Take
so
good care.
I just want
Stay
to
well.
remind you that
take
I
care. Great to see you all
Yeah.
alive and kicking. Okay,
Right.
and I'm
Stay
gonna end the meeting for all. All right,
Take
so
care.
take care. Be well.